Okay, good afternoon. It is Tuesday, April 7th at 3 p.m. As a preliminary matter, this is Robert Holland. I am the Shrewsbury Electric Cable Operations Commission Chair. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated in the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tony Trippi?
Yes.
Kelly Marshall? Nothing heard. Maria Lemieux?
Yep.
Mike Ruffolo?
Here.
And Bob Holland, that's me. So we have 4 of the 5 commissioners. We have a quorum. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Michael Hale?
Yes, here.
Joel Malvar? Joel
Yes.
Malvar?
Yes, here.
Ralph Iacarino?
Here.
Jackie Pratt?
Here.
John Laverty?
Here.
Mike Quidadamo?
Here.
Kathy Uriba? And
She's
you
recording.
may be on mute, but anyways, bottom line is that are there any other persons on the line that need to be recognized?
Jonathan Maliver, I'm here too.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, this is an introduction to the remote meeting. This is the first one that we're doing as part of the SELCO commissioning. And so it's good afternoon. This open meeting of the SELCO commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12th, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we have been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the governor's order suspends the requirements of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted in agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that public may follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. For this meeting, the SELCO Commission is convened by video conference via Google Meet, as posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Matter of fact, all of us are. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you and that you may take care not to screen share your computer unless asked by the chairperson or the staff person. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recordings. Meeting business ground rules. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each board member or staff member who has the lead role for this particular item or guest speaker associated with this item on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will then go down the line of members first and then to staff members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. I will then call upon the members to offer a motion and then for a second. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Remember that unless a document is being shared, your camera feed is triggered by your speaking or background noise. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For others in attendance that are expected to present, please hold until your name is called to present. Please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Remember that unless a document is being shared, your camera feed is triggered by your speaking or background noise. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. After your presentation, members of the board committee will be given the opportunity to ask questions. For any response, please await until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, you're going to talk back and forth, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, and most importantly, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. With that said, I will proceed with the agenda as provided. We've called the meeting to order, and the next item is to review and consider bill schedules. Well, I've received the warrants under a separate cover. I believe all the board members have as well. And if you have, I will go down board member by board member to seek your approval. If I obtain approval of all the personnel, I will personally sign the warrants for all of us in lieu of having everybody have to go down to the town hall to do that. With that, I'll go down each person. If you have any comments, please provide. Tony?
No comments. I agree with it.
Okay. Mike?
I'm all set, except I recuse as to Myrick O'Connell.
Understood. Maria?
Yep, I accept them.
Okay, I accept them. And have we been joined by Kelly yet? No. Okay, so for the roll call of 4-0, the warrants are approved, and that's item review and consider bill schedules. That's item 2 of the schedule. Item 3, review and consider approval of the minutes of February 24th, 2020. Again, I will go down each of the board members. If you have any comments, please provide. If not, then I will go, once we've gone through with all the board members, we'll then go to a voice vote to approve the minutes. Tony?
Yeah, no problems. Agree.
Okay. Maria?
I accept the minutes.
Okay. Michael?
Yes, I accept the minutes.
Okay, and so do I. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes?
So move.
Okay, Tony, second?
Michael Follow, second.
Very well. All in favor by voice vote? Tony?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Bob is yes. Okay. The next item on the agenda is the minutes of March 3rd, 2020. Again, any comments? Tony?
Was that the meeting I wasn't there at?
Yeah.
No,
No, you were there to that one. Was
Okay.
it the 10th?
the 10th he wasn't there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. Maria?
No comments.
Mike?
I accept them.
I accept the minutes as well. Motion to accept?
Yeah, so move.
So,
Tony?
Tony? Okay. Do we have a second?
I second Michael Follow.
Okay. The voice vote to approve. Tony?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Bob Holland, yes. And finally, as these exciting minutes get approved, item 5, review and consider approval of the minutes dated March 10th of 2020. Again, Tony, any comments?
No comments.
Okay. Maria?
No comments.
Mike?
I think those are the minutes that have Tony's name misspelled. If not that one, maybe the other ones, but one of the other ones, but it's
Okay,
spelled
we'll
TR. Yeah.
We'll verify that.
Okay.
Okay. Other than that,
I accept.
okay. All in favor to accept these minutes with the correction of Tony Trippier's name. So by voice vote, Tony?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And Bob, I accept as well. Okay, on to some more interesting items, I think. Item 6 is a review and consider approval of the electric cash statements of February 2020. Is Mr. Quidadamo going to address those, or Michael, are you going to do that?
I think I'll do that, Mr. Chairman. I'm in the office today, so I'll handle that. Mike's working from home today.
Got it?
Briefly, we'll start with the SELCO Electric February cash statements. And for those who are watching on TV, the finance manager, Michael Quidadamo, for each meeting that we have, prepares a cash statement for the commission to review and accept. On the electric side, year-to-date cash receipts through February 29th were about $5.9 or $6 million, about 3.5 less than what we had budgeted. In terms of cash expenditures, our expenditures were about 5.6 million and about 7% less than budgeted. I think that some of that is attributed to more of a mild winter and the power costs being lower or not as great as sales. Total available funds on February 29th on the electric side total approximately $16.08 million. That would be the electric summary. If you had any questions, I'd be glad to take them.
Okay, I'll go through the roll. Tony, any questions?
I don't have any questions on that. No.
Michael?
No questions. Thank you.
Maria?
No questions.
I have no questions. I will now go to are there any comments from any of the staff members? I don't think there would be, so we'll go to a voice vote on accepting the minutes of the not the minutes, but the report of the electric cash statements. All in favor, Tony?
Yes, I accept.
Okay, Michael?
I accept, thank you.
Maria?
Yes, I accept too.
And I accept as well, so that's 4-0 on that. So the minutes for are accepted for on the electric cash statements. Next item on the agenda is cable cash statements. Michael?
Sure. Again, this is the cable cash ending. I think Kelly's about to join us.
Yeah.
This is cable cash ending February 29th. And cash receipts totaled $3,624,000, about 1 point below what we had forecast in the 2020 budget. Again, we're on calendar year as opposed to the town that's on a July 1 fiscal year. In terms of the expenditures, we had about $2.45 million in expenditures, which is approximately 5% less than what we had budgeted. Total available funds at the end of February total around 27.9 million, of which 18 to 20 million are reserved for the large fiber to the home project. That's it.
Okay. Let's check. And Kelly, you joined us? I see an indication, but that's it. Okay, so any of the board members, Tony, any comments on the cable statement?
No, I accept those. They're good.
Okay, Michael?
I have no comments, thank you.
Okay, and Maria?
I don't have any comments either. Thanks.
Okay, and I don't. And Kelly, if you're not on, then we'll go and pass on that. And we've got 4-0 on the basically on the cash statements. The next item is review and discuss the SELCO NESN 2020 scholarship recipients. We received what, Michael, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we received like 24 scholarship applications.
34.
Of which the
34.
board reviewed and submitted names of 5 individuals, the top 5 candidates of which you've collated, and from there I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, typically, for those watching from home, the SELCO and NESN co-sponsor a scholarship to high school seniors who reside in Shrewsbury, whether they attend Notre Dame, St. John's, Shrewsbury High, or another school in the area. We award 3 $1,000 scholarships. Usually the commission is meeting in their regular meeting place, and we go through them one at a time. Given the situation that we have, we had to revise our process a little bit, and Kathy was kind enough to send a copy of each of the 34 applications to the commissioners. We had them delivered to their homes, and so the commissioners got back to us with their top 5 selections, and it was pretty easy this year because for the most part, you agreed on who the top vote getters would be, and we have chosen them, and we will notify the school department of who the commission has picked. At this point, I don't think it's prudent to announce them because the typical protocol is that those announcements are saved for awards night at the high school. So
Concur, and we're going to be going to executive session at the end of this.
Yeah, we can convey an executive session to the commission members who was chosen, and then we will forward those names to the high school, and it'll become public once awards night is presented.
I just want to add something, if I can.
Sure.
I read through all the applications. I think all of us read every word. They're really inspiring to read. Some of the essays are terrific. They're thoughtful, extremely well written, and it's a true pleasure to be part of the process and to help award students. I think there are far too many applications for the amount of money we're awarding. Many of the students really deserve, based on their application or essay, really deserved the award. But again, a true pleasure and inspiration to read.
I'll have to agree with that, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, I just as an informational thing too, on the town side, we've received 82 scholarships. for the town scholarships, which are $500 a piece, whereas the SELCO ones are 1,000. We only received 34 applications for that. I'd like to say maybe we should advertise more for next year, but if we're only going to have 3 awards, it's probably, we'll have to make a decision on that. But anyways, bottom line is I agree, the 34 applications we got were top notch. Okay, Michael, I believe the next item we have is a discussion on the general manager search, and I just have a short statement to read on that. As far as the folks that the viewers at home may be aware, Michael Hale has submitted his retirement request effective about 1 July of this year. Since then, we have been on getting our search team together and going out to far and wide to bring in candidates to potentially relieve Michael. It was a very tough job considering the fine job that Michael has done over the past 10 plus years. With that said, the process is ongoing. Letters of interest and resumes are being accepted through this Friday, April 10th. The process is being coordinated by Tom Kennedy, who many of you know, a retired HR director for the schools, and Christina Anderson, the HR coordinator for the town manager's office. We need to confirm if you can attend a planning meeting, this is for the board members, to finalize questions for the candidates and begin to set a schedule for those who might be interviewed. Ms. Anderson suggested this Friday from 9 to 11. This will require that the meeting be posted, however, it will be an executive session. The latest that it can be posted is Wednesday, April 8th by 8:59 a.m. if we're going to meet that deadline. So I'd like to know right now if there's anybody that cannot make that meeting. Or we'll just do a poll and find out what the status of everyone is for that 9 to 11 on this Friday. First, Tony, can you?
Yes.
In your calendar, you can make it?
Yes, I can.
Okay, Michael?
Yeah, I'm happy to attend.
Okay. Maria?
Yep, I can make it.
Okay, I can make it. And Kelly? We'll reach out to her. Okay, so Michael, you have permission to announce publicly that we'll have an executive session meeting from 9 to 11 this Friday to discuss your relief.
And Kathy will get that posted.
Good.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is a general update of the COVID-19 emergency operations. And Michael, I'll turn that over to you. I'm not hearing anything. Michael, you on mute?
Okay. I'll start over. I was on mute, Bob. Sorry. I guess the best thing, best way to sum this up is that timing is everything. If you could sum it up in one sentence, it would be that COVID-19 hit SELCO just prior to the 3 to 4 year complete plant overbuild that we had planned. If you recall, before the selectmen in the month of February announcing our intent to build a $30 million fiber to the home system over the course of the next few years. A fiber to the home system can accommodate the demands placed on a network much better than the DOCSIS plant that most capable operators are using and are in place throughout the country today. We currently have a DOCSIS plant. There are about 250 to 300 customers that share, and this is technical, but for the purposes of comparison, just to put it in perspective, 250 to 300 customers share about 1.2 gigahertz of bandwidth. If we had the fiber to the home plant in place, we would have 32 customers, or about 1/9, sharing twice the amount of bandwidth, or 2.5 gigahertz. So we had the plans in place, but we were kind of caught off guard by the sudden hit of this pandemic. So what have we been doing? For the last 3 to 4 weeks, we've been scrambling. We've done a lot of work and a lot of great teamwork on behalf of everyone involved. Joelle Maliver has taken a lead in a lot of it, and Jackie Pratt. And we've increased the pipes that are coming into the town, so we have more bandwidth coming into the town from our co-location facilities in Boston and Worcester. We've been chasing what's referred to as ingress that causes customers to experience certain latencies and interruptions. Unfortunately, that requires us to get into homes and look at loose connections and the like on certain equipment. And these ingress issues cause problems for everybody who could be on that node. I'm going to have Joelle speak a little bit about the plant design, but our plant is designed to be at 60% of its capacity at peak, thus leaving us significant capacity in normal operating periods of 40% slack. With everybody working from home, video chatting, streaming Netflix concurrently, our peak has increased nearly 50% during this last month's wave. Typically, we budget and plan system upgrades of 50%, of 35 to 40% compounded annual growth in bandwidth over the course of a year. And this all occurred over the course of the last month. We are currently looking into splitting 6 to 8 of our 64 nodes. And again, a node services about 250 to 300 homes. We're in the process of splitting 6 to 8 of them to increase capacity in those congested areas. We split one node on March 29th, and we hope to split another node on Wednesday of this week. The problem going forward was it took us some time to engage in a process of finding all the necessary equipment. Again, our game plan, and we had started early in the calendar year, designing a fiber to the home solution with a consultant for 21 to 23 nodes in the period in the calendar year 2020. We've now had to shift gears and make adjustments to the current plant to keep it up and running to address the capacity constraints that we are experiencing in about 1/8 of the neighborhoods. There's a lot of wiring that needs to be completed, and this is ongoing at the head end. And there's a lot of work to be done, and we need to get the work done between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. And just like other industries impacted by the coronavirus COVID-19 issue, we are scrambling to find the equipment, and all cable operators are chasing it at the same time. We were working multiple avenues, and last week we were able to find a vendor who can get us the equipment that we need. It is currently on its way to Shrewsbury. The cost of this equipment is approximately $250,000. That was an expense that we had not anticipated because we wouldn't have done this work if we were going to replace these homes with fiber. We recognize that the internet is a lifeline during this period, so we are doing our absolute best to keep things up and running. And over the course of the next 3 weeks, once we get all the equipment in and get the plant rewired, we will be splitting these nodes to free up some of the constraints that some people may be experiencing. Not all, but some. That said, I think it's, I have to say this, that SELCO is really holding its own, thanks in large part, a very, very large part, to a committed workforce who I can't thank enough that have stepped up and really put in the extra effort to keep the plant up and running. Some other measures that we have taken, and I'll be brief on this because I'd like to have Joelle Maliver, our cable operations manager, talk a little bit about the capacity and show you some graphs. And Jackie Pratt wants to weigh in on some of the customer-facing policy changes we've had to implement, just so people who may watch this are aware of what we're doing. You know, unlike most emergencies, our electric linemen aren't on the front lines of this one. Typically, our emergencies are weather-related, and the electric linemen are on the front lines. In this case, our cable workforce are on the front lines, both the cable technicians and the customer service people in the office and the help desk people who work at the head end helping people. We have reassigned some managerial duties to those whose operation is less impacted by the virus. We have split our workforce into some working from home and some in the office. As the surge is among us, we intend to have more office workers be home in the next couple weeks, and then perhaps staff back up as we get better information from Mass Public Health officials. We continue to pay all vendors and process all bills. All employees are still working. We have not laid off anyone. In fact, we are making provisions with contractors to secure more crews if our crews are impacted by the virus. Employees are not allowed to ride in any vehicles together. Our lunchrooms are totally shut down. Our employees are isolated from each other, and they are given their daily work assignments outside in the parking lot at the service area. Only SELCO employees allowed into the town hall and our head end space at Parker Road. We have a couple contractual workers who can continue to do some installations, and Jackie will iterate on that when I turn it over to her. As the surge is among us, we are thinking of backing off house visits as best we can to protect the wellness of both customers and workers. I'd like to thank the fire department, who were very gracious, who have secured enough masks for our workers on the front lines going into homes to use for the next few days. We hope to get more, but we are good for this week. I'd also like to thank the school department and Patrick Collins, who secured a touchless thermometer for us to test all our frontline employees as they show up to work each day and take their temperature to make sure they're not running any fevers before we deploy them. We continue to adapt our game plan really on a daily basis. And for the most part, I can't be thankful enough to the customers who have been very understanding. At this point, I'd really like to send it over to Joelle, who wants to show you a couple charts, and then Jackie to talk about some customer service changes. Joelle?
Okay.
You're going to share your screen with us, correct?
Yes. Sorry.
You're good. We can see you.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm trying to share the presentation.
Okay, why don't we go to Jackie first, and you can work on yours, Joelle.
Sounds good.
Jackie,
right.
take it away.
Yep, I'm all right. So as Mike mentioned, over the last few weeks, we've had to sort of modify our procedures and processes on the fly to accommodate the changes that have been brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic. Some of the changes that we've currently got in place right now are, first of all, the town hall is closed to normal business. Our phone lines and our online options for customer care still are open for business. So the help desk can be reached and the customer service lines can be reached during regular business hours. We've also changed our call queue and website messaging to reflect the current status. We have adjusted our process for equipment returns for people who are moving out of town or changing services. We're having them discard old equipment rather than bringing it back to us. For newer equipment that we do need to retain, we have a touchless process in place where people are sealing their equipment into bins, and we're coming back out to pick it up in a sealed bin and store it for several days before our cable staff goes and retrieves it. We're also doing customer pre-screening. So if you do need installation or service calls, you're going to be asked a series of questions. Yeah, you're going to be asked a series of questions. Do you have a fever? Have you traveled abroad? Are you quarantined as a result of COVID-19? We're also letting people know only one member of the household can speak to the service tech. We're also having customers wear masks or cover their faces while we're in the home. We have installations right now on limited contact where we've eliminated complex installations, so no DVR TiVos, and we're not doing any telephone installs. We're keeping it simple. BTAs, standalone TiVos, internet and Wi-Fi. For customers upgrading internet services, we're actually dropping modems to them for the most part, and they're doing self-installations. We're also limiting service calls. If the equipment needs to be swapped out, we're dropping that to them and letting them do a self-install. As we enter this surge, as Mike talks about, we're going to be reducing our touch points even more. We're going to be limiting in-home installations and service calls to Emergency only, so people who are new to town don't have any service whatsoever. We'll probably do installs for those. And then for essential services, we have self-installation. So people who are transferring from one house or apartment to another in town. If there's an equipment swap need from the help desk because there's a service disruption, or if people are upgrading internet, we can still drop equipment for those customers. For non-essential stuff, we're just going to call them back when we resume normal operations. So that might be somebody who has internet and wants to add Wi-Fi. We'll just call them back once we get to a better place here. Also, for folks who have TV but maybe want to add another TV set or upgrade to HD, we'll call those folks back. They have service. It's not an emergent situation, so we'll just have to prioritize the ones that don't have service right now. We've also established technician hygiene protocols, and this is based on the American Cable Association's guidelines. So our staff that are going into homes, while we are limiting contact in a lot of different ways, we do still have staff going into homes at this point. They're sanitizing their hands when they enter a home, putting on a fresh pair of gloves, fresh pair of booties. They're wearing an N95 mask. They're maintaining 6-foot distance from customers. Once they've completed the work, they're removing and disposing of all of that stuff, sanitizing again. They're washing their hands with soap and water as often as possible. And as Mike mentioned, all of our technicians are one per vehicle. They're also sanitizing their tools in between customer homes, which I think a lot of people, when they ask about the PPE stuff, we're also taking it to the next level with the tools. For office contact, we've limited folks who usually come in here to do office pickups of different paperwork. We have a whole bunch of boxes set up in the back hallway for mail to be distributed to billing folks who are working from home, accounting staff working from home, our tri-wire contractors, folks from the service area. They're all able to pick this stuff up in the back hallway rather than mixing and mingling here in the office, just to limit the contact. We also have some of our office staff cycling in and out of the office on 2-week rotations. We have groups A and B, which switch weeks that they're on, and we have group C, which is just working from home right now. So we have our customer service reps. About half of them are home right now, and the other half are here in the office. The ones who are home are all working. They're all logged into the queue, able to take calls, able to set up service and whatever we need to do. As of yesterday, we've had all of the customer care staff work at home at some point over the last few weeks. So we are confident that in a case where we have to go to a full work from home scenario, we would be able to stand up all of our resources, although that may impact our ability to accept equipment back in the office, and we may be reducing other touch points. In the last 3 weeks, we've seen traffic to our customer service call queue increase by 34%, and the help desk call queue increased by 12%. And this is over typical call volume that we see at the time. We have a lot of people who have wanted to upgrade their internet speeds, and we've accommodated them as much as possible, like I said, through modem drops or if installations are necessary, we've been doing that. We're going to be reducing that now over the next few weeks, and the policies that we put in place for what that looks like on a reduced schedule could change again. This is a very fluid situation, and Mike's doing a great job of monitoring where we're at on that. The one thing I do have to say, we're doing daily health checks. We're touching base with every employee who's remote at home, making sure that they're feeling well, that they're able to do their job, that they have the resources that they need. We haven't seen any negative customer impact on that front. So it's been going really well. And the resiliency and incredible teamwork that we've seen from our staff during this really crazy, unusual situation has been outstanding. Really, really proud of the work that they've been doing, the work that Joelle's guys have been doing in the field. I mean, everybody's really, really pulled together here. We're continuing to work on contingency plans for other off-normal operational states we may find ourselves in. Adjusting to this as it unfolds has been different in the way that we usually operate, but I think that we've been pretty confident in what we've been able to stand up here. And, to Mike's point on the signal ingress issue, where we're still trying to track and improve signal quality in the field, we're already working on instructions to limit contact in those areas so customers can help us with that if we find ingress in their home. So I think we've done a pretty good job modifying. Joelle, you all set with being able to share your screen now?
Jackie, just 2 things before we turn it back over to Joelle. One, I'm not sure that we have N95 masks. We got masks from the fire department, but I just want to clarify that I don't know.
That
And
might
the
have
other
been
thing is, I'm remiss, and in your words, you didn't cover it either. I didn't know if you were going to, but our IT staff has really stepped up to the plate and not only helped both SELCO but also the town. So I am remiss in not thanking them, but they have been top-notch in getting all of the workforce, both on the town side and the SELCO side, to be able to do their jobs from home.
Yeah, they have been outstanding, very, very flexible and just incredible in helping everybody
Yeah.
tackle this totally new way of doing business.
Well, it's working.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. In this afternoon, I'll be discussing a little bit about the impact that COVID-19 had over the SELCO internet network. So I'll start a little bit with some definitions. Network capacity engineer is designed based on peaks during busy periods. For example, school traffic is at its highest at the beginning of the school year, where iPads and other devices are handed to students and faculty. Summertime is the slowest usage simply because there are no one working. So in the cable plant, the peak time is between 5 and 10 p.m. The highest peaks occurs usually during this Christmas break, or snow days. This is a time when consumers are staying at home. They're usually adding new devices to their network. And customers tend to upgrade TVs, add new video gaming consoles, new mobile devices to their kid, etc. So when the growth is calculated from Christmas to Christmas, we can see a 50% compound annual growth, as Michael kind of mentioned it. So at SELCO, we added our 64 nodes, or we have the town segmented into 64 different areas. These areas are audited quarterly, and the rule of thumb is that we every time an area hits around 60% of the capacity, and this is the overall capacity, this is during peak time. This is usually when these areas are identified so that they can be upgraded within the upcoming month. Again, the growth usually happens, as you can see in the graph, during Christmas break. Our last Christmas break is where that 60% capacity happened. Now, during COVID-19, if you recall, in the middle of March, this is where COVID-19 kind of hit our area. That's what we saw, that 50% compound annual growth happening within just a couple of months. So we also analyzed the subscriber transfer statistics. And if you recall, during our last commissioner meeting, we were discussing how we're seeing many and many more customers simply using more bandwidth. This is due to customers are streaming more Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus. We see that as a big impact to the consumer network. So as of March 2019, about a year ago, only 3% of the subscribers were using about 1 terabyte of traffic, and another 11% was using 500 gigabits of traffic or more. A year later, we think this is mostly due to the COVID-19 impact. We are seeing how these groups double in sizes, where from 3% we went to 7% on the 1 terabytes, and from 11% we went to 21% terabyte. And this is important because if you recall that 2080 rule, this means that 20% of the customers are using 80% of your overall capacity. So this also applies to the internet bandwidth.
Hey, Joel, this is Bob Holland. If
Yes,
you're
sir.
presenting something, all I'm seeing is a red J.
Oh,
Is anybody else seeing graphs?
yes, I'm seeing the graphs.
Okay.
Secret.
I get the graph.
We can see it.
Okay. So this following graph shows the overall internet usage during the month of March 2020 to the outside world. This is the traffic that goes from SELCO to the internet pipes located in Boston and Worcester. So in the beginning of the month, the peaks were hitting about 20 gigabits of capacity. But the week of March 16, that's where the shelter in place was mandated by Governor Baker. This mandate raised the peaks to 30 gigabytes of 30 gigabytes and beyond. There's a few times that you can see that in the graph, we hit 32, almost 33 gigabits of traffic. And again, this is a growth that usually happens between 12 months, but we saw it happen within days. Luckily, SELCO has a robust capacity to the internet where we can reach up to 80 gigabits of traffic through Boston and Worcester combined. So as some of you may know, there is a large majority of the internet traffic is going to Netflix. Netflix went from 6.5 gigabits of traffic, that was the average peak, to 13 gigabytes of traffic during COVID-19. This is at 100% increase of traffic to just Netflix. Luckily, Netflix has catchers. We have Netflix catchers in the head end, which means that when the subscribers are navigating movies, everything is playing locally from within Shrewsbury. So that leads to better picture quality when customers are streaming. So all these had an impact to our 64 nodes, as I mentioned earlier. So we took a snapshot at the end of March, March 27, where we're showing the 10 more congested nodes. In this case, node 40, what we're calling node 40, was hitting 98% of the capacity, which this means is that customers were reaching, they couldn't reach their platinum speed, which is 300 gigs. When they were doing speed tests, they were only getting about 20 to 50 megs of traffic. So SELCO is focusing their efforts on upgrading these areas. One of the tools that we have is node splitting. So basically, node splitting allows us to break a serving area into half, which in this case we did to node 40 on March 29th. So once we split node 40, it became kind of, again, the Linkos are more cable oriented, 40A and 40B. So basically we broke into, and we can see now how that area is not even hitting 60% of capacity. We took a different approach on node 27, and this was as of last Friday. We work on identifying the top 5 internet users in node 27, and we migrated them to fiber. And just by migrating them to fiber, we were able to shave about 12% of the peak capacity by shifting traffic into the fiber network. That's all I have, Mike.
Yeah, and just a follow-up on node 27, just for the, that's one of the 2 nodes that the SELCO cable technicians have built themselves in the field already. So because of that, we were able to move those 5 customers onto fiber. I don't want to give the opinion that fiber is everywhere. That this node is one that has been built out, and it is down in the Lake Street, South Quinsigamond Ave area. Joel, great job. Thank you. Question?
Hey, Michael, this morning when we're driving around doing my Meals on Wheels, I kept driving by a kid on a bicycle. It looked familiar. Can you give us an update on what was going on there?
Yeah, no, that came into, I didn't know that was going on either, but I think it's actually a wonderful story, Bob. We have a professional cyclist, Patrick Collins, who lives in town and grew up in town. And when he's not riding on his professional circuit, he does GIS work for us. And he's been tasked with building a GIS module for both electric, but also for the new fiber to the home distribution plant. And so when we were being stressed with requests, the increase for the requests for modems for people to upgrade their speeds, we asked Patrick to step away from his GIS work and take a pickup and start delivering these modems to the customers. We're getting requests of 16 to 20 per day. He took it upon himself to shed the vehicle and hop on his bike and do it. Joel gave him permission to use his bike. And interestingly, this story has made national news, but he's able to deliver. I know on the first day he logged it using some type of app he has on his bike, his racing bike. He was able to deliver the 16 nodes over 45 miles in Shrewsbury in 3 hours and 5 minutes. So we think he's doing it about as fast as he could if he were using the truck. And he's getting the exercise and doing what he loves to do on the bike. And we're saving fuel. So, and the customers seem to love it. He shows up, puts the modem on their doorstep. They pick it up. They can self-install it. He stands out at the curb and does some provisioning from his cell phone that gets that new modem up and running, and he's off to the next house. So he's done a wonderful job. We're getting a little creative.
Hey, another thing that I was concerned with when we first, when all the kids were let out of school, was to make sure that all the students were going to be able to do their education work at home. I understand we did some workarounds to help those folks that were perhaps either disadvantaged or just didn't have internet.
Yes, the school department, through a some type of survey that they did to their parent groups, identified 30 plus homes where there was no internet connection in the home for the student to work remotely from home. That would have required us to not only set up, because they use iPads, that would have required us to do 30 plus installations of both a modem and a wireless router to those homes, and expose our workers to that home and expose that home to our workers. The workaround for that Patrick Collins came up with was that the school department would purchase 30 cellular iPads, and I agreed to split the cost of that capital purchase with the school department. Thus, we're able to get these kids in an online learning experience much quicker than we would have had we had to send our cable techs out and install cable in 30 homes. So it was a win-win situation. I think the total cost might have been around $8,000 to SELCO, but it clearly was a better method of finding a solution to that issue.
Okay, Michael, thank you. Hey, before I get on with anything else, I do want to make sure that I thank Mark Serra in SMC for their support today and getting this show on the road with a bunch of amateurs working with this new meeting apparatus. But I'm very happy that Mark was able to step forward and assist us that remotely. So thanks a lot, Mark. Hey, with that, Michael, do you have any other things? I'm going to poll the board members to make sure that there's no other questions if you're done. You're muted again.
The only other thing I would request is an executive session today.
Yes.
And we can do that off camera. And you have to have, and we would not reconvene into open session, and you need a roll call vote for that.
Yeah, I understand that. I'll go first off through the staff or the board members, make sure there's no questions on anything that was presented today. But I'll remind also before we go into executive session that all the board members received a package hand delivered to your door, and part of that package has the executive session information. Most importantly, it has the dial-in information, because once we go off, we won't have the computer. You'll have to go onto the phone to handle that situation. So with that said, Tony, do you have any other comments or questions?
I do not.
Okay. Mike? I'll take that as a no. Maria?
No,
Okay. And let's see.
Kelly's on, Bob.
Kelly's, I think, on.
Yeah,
Kelly?
I figured it out. It took an 18-year-old to tell me how to do it, but I figured it out.
Okay. You're
And
all
no
set?
questions. Yep.
Okay, great. And Mike, you are still on?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I was on mute. Well done. Obviously, it kind of takes a village to make all that happen, right down to the bicycling. So schools, it's what we should be proud about for being in Shrewsbury, and really, really happy to hear all that, and happy to hear that everybody just jumped in and made it happen in an event in a manner that we had no idea was coming at us. So well done, bravo.
Okay, with that said, I will go through. You'll need a motion to secure from this meeting and go into executive session. Do I have a motion and a second on that?
Tony Trippi, a motion to adjourn and go into executive session.
Mike Ruffalo, second.
Okay, we'll do a voice roll call vote on this. Tony,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
okay, Kelly,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
okay, and Bob. So with that, we'll sign off on this first ever SELCO commission remotely, and we'll go into executive
not to
session.
reconvene, though.
Return.
Yes, okay, good.
What do we do? Just dial on the phone and,
Yeah, just dial in on the phone, Tony.
okay.
Thank you.